This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know. Some rockstar dads who started a show. So here's the next episode.
Welcome to the Rockstar Dad Show. Man, there's so much new stuff, you know? Like, have you noticed that there's music going on?
Yeah, you got like some professional music beds going on over there?
Yeah, there's just like feel it. It is the Rockstar Dad Show, of course. My name's Jaret Gary is right there.
Heyo.
We're from the band Bowling for Soup, and we have been doing this show for a very long time. The flagship show on Adobe Radio.
Yeah.
The flagship. Your background looks cool. I see you put your gold records up there where your old computer used to be.
Yeah, I've been working on changing it up now that we're on video on the YouTubes, trying to make my background look a little bit cooler. It's still a work in progress.
It looks cool. It's funny. You've got that picture back behind your head of the picture that we took in our van, and I'll never forget that. We went to go get photographed by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, and a tornado had hit downtown Fort Worth like days before this. And the streets were just littered with just glass and shrapnel and roof tiles, and it was just fucking madness. It looked like Zombieland.
Yeah, and it was empty. Like downtown was just empty.
And we had to park like far away from the place because you couldn't get there because all the tall buildings, it was unsafe because there was glass like hanging out of the sky, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, we went in there, and so we took two really good pictures that we both of us I think have them both framed, but one of them is just us with no pants on with cowboy hats covering our junk.
That one's on the other side of my door. You just can't see it.
Yeah, and then and they're so good. But the other one, we went back to our van and we duct taped ourselves as though we were being kidnapped and stuffed ourselves into the van. And we're just all with our hands tied and our mouths covered up and like our feet bound and all this. And we're just shoved into the back of this, 15-passenger van with the seats out. And people, I believe like a priest, right? Wasn't it a priest?
It was, yeah, I think it may have been like, not like in a full black getup, but like his normal day casual, but he had like the collar.
The collar on, and people were coming up and asking if we were okay. Like, are you guys okay? Like as if we were being kidnapped. We'd have a photographer there.
Yeah, but the great part is we're bound and gagged in the back of this car, and so they were walking up to the photographer going, "Hey, is everything cool here?" And the guy who's not tied up was telling everyone, "Oh yeah, they're fine." And okay, cool, and they'd walk off.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we couldn't talk. We were bound. If you're watching this podcast, by the way, I did it again. I forgot to press record, and so you missed. So point to the picture with your left hand. Yeah.
There we go.
There it is. That's the one. We're in the van there, and it's good. So, and if you're just listening to this podcast, that meant absolutely nothing to you.
Yeah, or, head on over to YouTube and check us out over there.
And you didn't even know that I forgot to press record on the thing. You just, that's it. Hey, Andrew McMahon is coming up later in the show. We played shows with Something Corporate back in the day. They did Warped Tour one of the years we were on it, and that they brought a piano, which I thought was insane.
We did that some kind of like senior night or something at Disney World, and it was awesome.
It was fun. We had 2 shows a day for a couple of days.
Yeah, and we got to go to the front of the line for all the rides we wanted to go ride.
That's good stuff. Yeah, it is fun how when we've played amusement parks in the past, like the time we did that with Maroon 5, we did like a couple of amusement parks with them, and we got to go to the front line. But this Adam Levine, I guess he doesn't like rides. He didn't go with us.
Yeah. He's probably busy singing really high instead of going on rides with us.
I bet he was. He was reading a lot. I remember like he'd just be in the dressing room just reading and just plotting world takeover, and then he just fucking took over the fucking world, You know what
we need to do, Jaret?
What's that?
Read more.
Yeah. You know what? I think about that. I do listen to books on tape.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same thing, right?
I can't read.
No, nothing. I listened to I told you about this. I got into really reading about like punk rock and hardcore history. I started reading books on like just the genres of music and just like and bands themselves and got into that for a while. But now I'm just back to listening to murder. I just listen to podcasts, but just people just getting the shit killed out of them.
Man, is there a way? There's no crossover stories I can think of where like some band, punk rock, hardcore band, just got murdered on the road.
You are wrong. The Sex Pistols. Well, there was a murder that happened in that whole thing, right? Didn't Nancy Sid killed Nancy or some shit, right? And then I don't remember.
Some craziness.
Yeah, somebody got stabbed in the fucking face, and something happened. Anyway, they're both dead. And there was blood involved, so I'm in. No, I've been listening to this one. It's not murdery. It's called there's a podcast and a documentary. The documentary is on Hulu. It's called Stolen Youth, and the podcast, I believe, is called Devil in the Dorm. And it's about this guy he's a father of this girl at this like really, really small college. And the dude gets out of prison in his 50s and moves in with his daughter and her friends. And for like 12 years, they have a cult. So he basically like recruits her friends into this cult, and it becomes like a sex ring, and he's got them doing yard work and shit. Like it's crazy. The podcast is a really good listen. I do recommend that you do the podcast first and then watch the documentary, because you get perspective from different people. And the podcast is way more in depth, obviously, because they can go longer. It's cheaper or whatever. But
what's it called again?
So the documentary is called Stolen Youth.
Okay.
And the podcast is Devil in the Dorm, I believe. But yeah, it's fucking wild. Anyway, the dude is just like in prison now for the rest of his life for basically starting a cult. Like all these kids are like not okay. It's like one of them is still like super. I shouldn't tell you that. Never mind.
No spoiler alerts, man. Yeah,
I'm sorry, dude.
Cults aren't usually the coolest thing.
No, but do you like watching shit about cults? I do.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Me and Casey did like a cult like month where we just watched any documentary on cults. Like I find it so fascinating. I really do. And there's a bunch of cult podcasts too, but
you know what I just got done listening to?
What's that?
So at your Super Bowl party, I was hanging out talking to the other Gary, and he had recommended the Dave Grohl book.
Okay.
And so I listened to that on Audible, and it's really interesting. I think anyone would really enjoy it, but it was kind of uncanny. It was really weird listening to it because so many of the stories are relatable. So relatable to like you and me. Like some of the stories sound like it's my story. Some of the stories sound like it's your story.
Wow.
So I think you would enjoy it if you haven't listened to it or read it. But one of the crazy things that I didn't know about Dave Grohl is that he drums with his teeth. And that's something.
Oh, and you do that too.
Yeah, and he's like, I've never met anybody else that does that, and I don't really know other people that do that. But he was telling stories about drumming with his teeth and grinding. His teeth
you're a tooth drummer from way back.
Yeah, everyone's always like, Gary, are you freezing cold even though it's August? I'm like, nope, just drumming with my teeth.
I drum with my toes, and my wife will just watch over. She'll go, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "My high school fight song." And
when you're drumming with your toes, are like sitting on the couch or laying in bed or what?
Both, but most of the time, like sitting in my chair, and she can just see my feet going. I do like paradiddles. I do rudiments sometimes. Like I just over there doing flamadiddles and fucking double paradiddles, and like I do like cadences and play shit, and like sometimes I just fucking stop. But yeah, I play with my feet a lot. I saw a thing about Dave Grohl the other day where he plays the guitar like it's a drum set. So when he's so he'll hit with his thumb like it's his kick drum, and then the snare is like So when he's doing stuff, it's like boom, dang, ding, dang, go, do, dang, do, da, kind of thing. And it makes a lot of sense.
Interesting.
He just sort of, made the guitar a drum set, which
I'd heard that before,
good.
but I didn't understand in what facet, they meant. I didn't know if whenever I've heard that before, I didn't realize if they're saying like, the syncopations in the rhythm that he's playing or something. You're saying the style, like how he's strumming it's different.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And he uses like his low strings as like the kick drum and the high strings like it's like it's his snare or whatever.
Huh.
And he like plays through like he played Everlong or whatever. And
you know how you're saying you drum with your feet when you're laying in bed?
Yeah.
Anik used to do tap dance and clogging and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when she's laying in bed, she still does that stuff, and just her little buns are sitting over there jiggling away, and it's funny.
Hey.
And then Tyler, he's in percussion now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Anik can't stand it when either Tyler or I sniff, like you just did. Like it just drives her insane. She's like, blow your nose. And we're like, I don't need to blow my nose. I just needed to sniff real quick. But so Tyler and I have come up with a thing where like at the dinner table, we'll between us paradiddle or double paradiddle or triple paradiddle sniffs. And it drives Anik fucking insane.
Man, she's never said anything to me, and I sniff 24 hours a day. So I'm glad that she at least just accepts it when I'm around, because my nose has never not been stopped up, as you know. And like literally my entire life has been like every fucking person I meet, like whether it's like, ordering something or some people just always like, your allergies bad or whatever. I'm like, I guess
that's like a weird question. It's like, are your allergies bad? Well, they always are. So
yeah. I mean, they're just allergies that I literally have 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and I'm on 2 allergy meds and I still I get no relief. Like if I don't take those, it's fucking horrible.
So people that move to where we are, like end up getting the worst allergies they've ever had in their life. So, I mean, I get that we're just in a bad allergy area of the world, but when you travel to, Canada or somewhere, like when you go far away from here, you still have bad allergies, or does it get better in other places?
It does get better sometimes. And what happens is, sometimes I will notice that I'm doing better, especially if we're gone for like a few weeks. But there is this, it is crazy. The minute I walk off the airplane onto that tarmac, my nose is stopped up. Like every single time. It is wild what this area does to me, and I love it. I'll never leave, but it's I definitely would probably benefit not being here.
I've got bad allergies too, and you just live with it and you don't realize it, and it sucks because whenever you do go to the place where they're not bothering you, you don't really appreciate it because you just don't notice it because you're used to it. But then you come home and you're like, crap, they're back.
100%. Yeah, it's just the worst. Well, Andrew McMahon is coming back. Will be here later in the program. And guys, we've got so many cool guests coming up. I am super excited. Steelheart, I'll never let you go, will be here, I think, next week. Constantine, who, we've known that guy 20 years. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's but I ran into him at Lexi and Ryan's wedding. Oh, I call her Lexi. Alexa Bliss. Nothing. Alexa, off. I gotta start. Man, when I was recording that song, so if you guys don't know, Bowling for Soup has a song called Alexa Bliss, and when I was recording it, I came out to go to the bathroom, and my wife was just dying laughing because we have ALEXAs all over the house, like the thermostats, and there's a Sonos in most every room, and like we've got the little round ball everywhere that tells you the weather and shit. And they were just going off, for all day because I'm just up here singing that, and I sing really loud. So my studio is pretty soundproof, but unless I'm singing, and you can fucking hear me everywhere. And anyway, they were just going off all over the house, and she just thought it was the fucking funniest thing. So, anyway, all right, we got to take a break. We will be right back with more Rockstar Dad Show right after this. Y'all listen up. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. I am your sniffing co-host, Jaret Reddick. And you know what I do now, Gary? Like I I because in the country thing I do Jaret Reddick. I just say Jaret Reddick all the time now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because I always found it. Did you ever think it was weird saying your own name? Like you thought it just felt weird saying it?
Maybe. I mean, like I've always just like not really appreciated my name that much. Like, you know, like
you don't like it?
It's not that I don't like it. It's just, I don't know. So I don't know. I don't feel weird saying it, but it's weird that you're now going Jaret Reddick. I get it saying it for, separating it for a different project, but you and your daily basis doing that. Like, yeah, I'm starting to you're 50 years old and you've changed your name.
I've put my middle name in. Like I was doing an interview the other day and I was like, I used to only hear my middle name if I was in trouble, like Jaret Ray.
Right.
That's it. But like,
maybe you've just taken charge of your destiny. You're like, I can't get in trouble now. So fuck it.
That's right.
I'm Jaret Reddick.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What the fuck are they going to do to me? Nothing. Like I actually hold the power. I whoop my dad's ass now. He's 84. Yeah. I'm finally not scared of the man, Oh man. Goodness gracious. It's funny growing up, when you're like, you just think your dad is like a superhero. Like my dad could pick up a car.
My dad can kick your dad's ass.
My dad could kick your dad's ass. And then, there's always like the one kid in school who like his dad could literally kick everybody's dad's ass, and like you see him at the PTA meeting, you're just like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to stop with trying to get my dad into a fight with this kid's dad, and, but that whole my dad could beat up your dad thing. I wonder if kids still do that. Probably not. They just moved on to other shit. Kids like
my dad can make a better iced frappuccino latte than your dad.
My dad's a better text messenger than your dad. My dad has more TikTok followers than your dad. That's got to be what it. Kids are funny these days. We were talking about this about how you. When we were kids, like, you sort of like got made fun of if you wore certain shoes or, this, or like you couldn't get shoes at Payless Shoe Source or people would fucking make fun of you. And now
Kmart jeans or something.
Kmart jeans. People don't give a shit anymore. Like they never, like it's so funny. It's funny too. Like, I think I've talked about this on the program before, but like Champion used to just be like this brand of clothing that you got for fucking free. You know what I mean? Like the shirts were like $2 at Target, and you just go load up. And now like I really do enjoy their tank tops during the summer.
Yeah.
And they're fucking $30, and they don't even have sleeves,
Yeah. So what are you paying for?
I don't know. Something. Shipping.
Yeah.
But it's funny just how things change and you don't like Everett has never, not once, he's 10. I'd be curious if Tyler ever has, like he's never like wanted something clothing wise just because that's what all the kids have.
Tyler does not have that. He's never had anything like that where it's like, I wish I had this or I want that. Now, like items that he owns, he has his favorites. Like, this is my favorite hoodie or whatever. I'd rather wear this pair of shorts than that pair of shorts.
Yeah.
But he's not ever coming home and being like, these kids have this. I wish I had that.
Right. I want these kind of shoes or whatever. Like, Everett doesn't give a fuck. The last shoes she bought him, she got off Amazon. And she was just like, you know what? His feet are growing too fast, which, is the first mistake. She actually admitted this last night. It's a rookie mistake. She got him cheaper shoes because they're wearing out too fast, but then they wore out in like 2 weeks. So the kid is hard on shoes.
Yeah.
So we have to buy nice shoes, but it's like, do you buy 3 pairs of $20 shoes or do you buy 1 pair of $50 shoes?
Right.
You buy 1 pair of $50 shoes.
Yeah. It's the kids are just growing, man. It's crazy. Like we have that same issue with shoes. Tyler goes through them super fast. But last year for Christmas, at the end of last baseball season, I realized that he had outgrown his baseball bat, right? So we went and got him a new baseball bat for Christmas. And baseball bats aren't cheap, right? I mean, it's like a $400 bat, $350 bat, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I got a bigger one. I'm like, this will last him for a few years. The kid's grown almost a foot in the past year. He's outgrown this $350 bat that we just bought him a year ago and needs another one.
Yeah, you got to sell it. Or what we've done in the past is hand it down to a shorter kid.
Yeah.
You know, so like we handed we had a kid that joined the team last year, and Everett has to get a new bat like every 3 seasons. So about every year and a half. It's time to go up because you go to like the different weight and the different I guess length and
weight,
and all of that, and it's like he's tall like Tyler too, for his age, and so it's one of those things. But you see those for sale all the time too, like but you and I have discussed that it's just more trouble than it's worth to fucking to put it up for sale, because god damn it, like I had this set of golf clubs I bought from Dick's, and I accidentally bought left-handed for Everett, and I didn't have time to take them back. I remember what happened. I tried to take them back. No, that's not what happened. Casey was out. I said, just go buy a different set and I'll just return these later, but I waited too long.
Yeah.
Right. So I fucking just have this left-handed set of golf clubs. So I put it on the Facebook and I go, hey, I've got these brand new things. If somebody wants them, whatever, we're neighbors, you can have them. And so one of my neighbors was like, I'll take those, but I'm out of town. Can I come grab them next week? And that was like 3 months ago, and I have not heard from the guy. It might be more than that. Like, I feel like this is from summer, because I kind of think when the last golf camp Everett was in, it has to have been summer. Yeah, for sure it was. So this has been months. And
you're coming up on a year.
It's still down there, Goodness gracious. I'm just going to make him golf left-handed now.
Yeah.
You and I are going to play some golf tomorrow. That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Going to go to Top Golf. We're going to rehearse because we have a golf tournament with a bunch of other musicians in March, and we're simply going for the fun of it. In no way.
We're going to go hang out with each other. Yes. And Marco and Dave, and get drunk and have fun, and we're going to be the best looking team out there.
100%. We got outfits, and it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. They're here, by the way. I'm pretty excited to unveil them. All right, Andrew McMahon is coming up shortly. We need to take another break, and when we come back, we'll just talk to him. He is such a talented dude. The guy has been he's 3 times famous, Something Corporate, Jack's Mannequin, and now Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness. And he has beaten cancer, and he's a rock star dad. And we're going to talk a little bit about therapy and music and all that stuff when we come back. But first, y'all listen to this. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. As I said earlier, I'm super excited to have our next guest, Gary. We first met him when he was in Something Corporate. We did some graduation shows together down in Florida, and had a good time. And then I think we did a couple of shows with Jack's Mannequin, but most recently we played the Rock Boat. And I went and saw his show in the big theater, and I mean, my mind was, I cried twice during the show, and I remember just leaving that theater just going, holy shit, that was amazing. And so me and Rob talked about that show the rest of the trip. Andrew McMahon, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Good to see you, man.
You too. Man, I mean, what a ride. What a insane roller coaster of a life you've had, musically, health wise. I mean, you've had 3 separate music careers that I can count, and you beat cancer, and you're like a superhero.
Far from it, my friend, but I appreciate the characterization.
I mean, obviously, Something Corporate just, I still think that song, I listen to, it's always in our mix, the If You See Jordan, and yes, I let my children listen to that. And then of course at the end, everybody's like, fuck you, Jordan. And like, everybody's like, you let your kids listen to that? I'm like, they're going to listen to way worse without me,
Yeah, at least it's the underdog. At least it's an underdog song,
Absolutely, man. But dude, great to have you here. Now, so what's going on these days with you? You came out as Andrew McMahon, and it just kind of took off, and you've just been really busy. It seems like it seems like you just never stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's been wild. Obviously, things slowed down during the pandemic and everything, and I sort of shifted gears and ended up working on a memoir instead. And so I put out a book last year, and then once that was kind of like I cleared the deck of that and sort of going through and telling my life story up to this point, I think that's probably because we were on the Rock Boat. It was 2021, right?
Is the one, it was
November 2021.
Yeah. So that was in the middle of the book tour, right? So and then from that point, so it was quiet in the sense that I was sort of like, I think a lot of us were out of the public. I stayed busy doing like drive-ins and things like that, but I was sort of holed up in here working on the book for about a year. And then once that was out and I kind of did the tour and we all got to hang out and that was a lot of fun this past year getting to do that. And then it's just been music making back in the studio and a lot of change ups in my world, kind of like a whole new team working on this project, new agent, new managers, sort of like a whole kind of reboot. And I'm just gearing up to put a record out in the end of March. So that's sort of the current state of things.
Yeah. I'm sure when you write your life story up until a certain point, that's gotta feel therapeutic. Do you come out of something like that going, all right, now what? I'm going to go conquer this and this and this. It's gotta be self-inspiring, so to speak.
Yeah, it was it was hugely therapeutic. And I'm somebody who's like been in therapy for a pretty good long while now, and I think there's, obviously, as you guys well know, like writing is a huge release and a kind of, you hit the pressure valve, and there are a lot of things in your subconscious that make their way to the surface. And so it's sort of been a part of my life, but I don't think that anything has really compared to this process of writing the book, where it's just like, once you're really in this sort of long form, pulling the shovel out and just going for whatever your experience, or if it's a trauma, say I was like, looking at again, you just go deeper, right? So you're unearthing a lot in the process. And it was at a time in my life, I think that there were some just unresolved things, things that I'd done so much to resolve a lot of my history, whether it be with cancer or some of these things from my upbringing. But it was nice kind of as I coasted into 40 and now have a 9-year-old daughter, and to sort of really look in the mirror pretty hard and face some things that maybe I thought I had faced down, but not as fully as I did with the book.
It's important because mental health is such a thing that's on. Finally, we live in a time where people are. They're accepting of mental health issues and checking on people and dealing in their own mental health things, and it's important for people like you to put that into the world, that like, hey, I've been going to therapy for a long time, and hey, same, you know what I mean? Like, it's something where it's like, it's, I don't know. For me, it's like, oil changes. You got to maintain your car. You got to maintain your brain and your psyche and just your, everything. It just, I don't know. It's so hard to start. That's what I tell people all the time about therapy. like, especially if you're, because I'm actually like in between. I still go to couples therapy once every couple of months with my wife. We do that as like a tune-up thing. But I'm in between personal therapists or whatever, and it's terrifying to just to at first, but once you get in there, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have been telling me to go to therapy since I was about like 10 years old, and it took me to about, I think, 30-ish, and it was really my wife who was just like, yo, dude, like, you got to figure your shit out. Like, it was very right. Simple. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. And yeah, my life got infinitely better from there for sure. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of, just taking that, putting that on the table, because I was terrified to go, but it's been good. And it was nice to sort of like, on my own, sort of do the deeper dive then, after having kind of had built up these tools to then get into writing, writing the book. It was like, oh, like I can really carve into this space, and handle it. Right. So, but it's been, that was good, but it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back making music. It's nice to be back, like, properly on the road and seeing people and just collaborating. I feel like that was like a really, a much more painful loss than I even realized at the time, until I got into the room with people to start working on new music. And I was like, oh my God, I missed this, and I think that it kind of was a shot of life to this new music, I think, because I was so glad to be back after being gone for so long.
So, new album, are you doing the album thing now? I mean, there's in music, we were all confused, right? I mean, we had pretty much just told, hey, all right, Bowling for Soup is just going to do singles now. We're going to do a single and a video every couple of months, whatever. Then the pandemic hit. It was like, all right, what else are we going to do? So we did a record. And but you decided you're going to do the album thing. Is it the release a song every month for a while and then the album comes out, or what's the plan?
Yeah, that's been roughly the plan. I mean, I put the record together as a whole. I mean, there were certainly sort of these pockets of, before, prior to 2020, I had already kind of started making a record, or writing one at least, and had felt like I had some wind in my sails, like going into March. And it was like, oh, and then so I sort of walked away from that material, and then, got back into, writing more after the book had come out. And so it was sort of this idea, well, like, I'm just going to record, I have all this material, like, let's just go and make something cohesive. And I hooked up with Tommy English, who's a producer who I adore and I've worked with before on a couple of songs, but it was like, I've always wanted to do a whole record with him. And so I really did, like, weirdly, I think more so than any of my last few records, really treated this like a proper record, like had most of the songs written in advance, went into the studio, like really built a game plan, and then just started carving into it. Yeah. But we're treating the release sort of more like what you're talking about, like I think, all these conversations about how the algorithm plays into our futures and whatnot, and I certainly believe it. I've seen it at work, but yeah, so I'm with a new label network who are great. They're like, they have like freaking data scientists and people on their staff, that kind of thing. Yeah. And their deal is really like, we want a song every 6 weeks, or every 6 to 8 weeks. Like and I see why that makes sense. Obviously, everybody's got shorter attention spans. So if you're going to have a bunch of exciting moments where a new song and a new video and a new thing comes out, and then you're releasing dates, so it is definitely anxiety driving though, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
yes.
Usually the release is like, it's like, that's one Band-Aid you have to pull off. Now I have to pull off that Band-Aid every 6 weeks, and I'm just like, fuck, pardon my language. Yeah. This is a dad.
No. You can cuss on here. Yeah. You're so right, and it's so frustrating too, because it's like, I mean, I don't know. I'm a little bit older than you, but at our age and, in our generationally, just trying to keep up with all of this social media and the way that all of this works and stuff. And then you see kids that are out there that are like, just, they just got a new song and all of a sudden they just throw it out there and it gets millions and millions of views and blah, blah, blah. But then you go, but our distributor's like, we need like at least 3 weeks to get this into the right people and yada, yada. But that guy didn't have to do that, and it's all such an interesting dance, know.
Well, there's an impressive sense of immediacy, I think, and that I really truthfully admire about, in these younger artists that are able, I think just because they were born with the phone already in their hands. So it's like, it's an extension of themselves. I think for me, even when the cell phone arrived, it was like, I was such a late adopter. I mean, I started texting years after people were texting. I was like, I don't want to, I've always been like an 80-year-old man, and so I think that I think for me, I also have been so, even, as I've been doing this my whole life, but I've always been super protective of this idea of not having to be on all the time. Like, I feel like for my creativity, I think for my own personal well-being, that's a really tough thing for me to sign up for, like I don't want the Truman Show version of my life. I want to have a life and then have a public life, and so, and that's not a dig at anybody who lives the other way. It's just, even as a kid coming up, it was like the best piece of advice I ever got was don't read your own press, right? Whether it's good or whether it's bad, it will impact the way you think of what you do. I feel like, I took that to heart in such a way that it is hard for me to want to, to be up posting every day or be on a million different platforms. And because in a way, I feel like it's just another version of reading your own press. You're either getting hyped by people or you're getting in the weeds about what somebody thinks about something you said, or, it's, in a lot of cases, not even the stuff that you're not even your work. It's like your opinion on some, popular culture bullshit, so but I also again, I don't mean to sound cynical, because I do really appreciate, I get on TikTok and I'm like, man, brilliant. Like, there's so much good art and comedy and music that is coming out of this next generation that I admire it. And I think all of us are just figuring out how to play in that sandbox authentically, and that, I think that's the most important thing, is like, you can't do bullshit. It's gotta come from the heart. And if it doesn't come from the heart, then you got to figure out another way or just do it the old way.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it sounds like you set boundaries, in your life, and it probably, again, comes from, the journey that you've had with, obviously you've probably dealt with a lot of different record promoters and a lot of different, because of the fact that, you were in something corporate and then Jack's Mannequin and doing your solo stuff and now a new team. So it's a lot of people tugging you in a lot of different directions. Did you ever find it hard to keep that boundary, to not be on all the time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there was certainly a point, through the Sunday corporate days, we just worked and never stopped until we didn't really implode. We just sort of we kind of just walked away slowly with our hands. Yeah.
It really wasn't you didn't really blow it up. It just sort of,
And then and then with Jack's Mannequin, obviously, because I got sick, I think that was really this moment where, because it had happened as I was just running 100 miles an hour and then hit a brick wall and I was sick. I thought for a period of time, okay, this is the moment. I've been taught the lesson. I'm gonna just sort of pull back a little bit here. But I didn't. As soon as I was within, the 50-yard line of health, I was back at it, doing 250 shows a year, never being home, and I did that until I hit another fucking brick wall, It's sort of the story of my life, I'll say it's been a long time since I've hit the wall. Yes, I have sort of set a baseline, you know, it gets out of, I mean, it gets crazy. It's like we do what we do, you know, it's, if you're promoting something, you're going to get ground down. I mean, I just went from Miami to LA to Miami to Australia to Harry Potter land for 2 days and that was in like a course of 8 actual calendar days, you know? So I still do it, but I'm a lot better at saying, oh no, it's gotten a little out of control.
Need a little bit of, but where did fatherhood come in? So she's 9 years old, and what's her name?
Cecilia. Yeah. So she's 9. Yeah. So wildly, her my wife's pregnancy kind of coincided with the writing and recording of the first Wilderness record. So there was there was all this newness, right? And I had, I just signed with like new management and had decided to, make an independent record for the first time. And, that was really what the Wilderness was for me, was just this like, wow, like stepping in with all new creative partners and business folks and having a baby. And yeah, I mean, it was out of that process, I launched this sort of third version of my career and the song that I wrote for Cecilia ended up being the biggest song of mine to date.
It's huge.
So
top 40 radio and just like nuts. And I remember being in LA and hearing that at a Mexican food restaurant. I'm like, is that Andrew? Is that
That's
what
funny.
And then all of a sudden it's just it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, so
how does
go ahead. Sorry,
go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, so that was my foray into fatherhood. Was we raised Cecilia on a tour bus for her first 3 years. I think she spent more time on a bus than she did and on an airplane than she did at home, and we just did it as a family.
So that is, though, a difference in that. I mean, had you known your wife, when did you get married, or when did you guys meet? Because I just wonder, is that opposite of touring before, like having your family on the road, or was she out with you before that?
It's a polar opposite. I mean, yeah, we were a sort of classic hard partying touring band through most of my life, but yeah, I mean, with Kelly, we started dating when I was just out of high school, and I'd known her since we were kids. My sister and her were best friends in high school, and we've been married for 17 years now. I hope we got that. Wow,
congratulations,
right.
Man.
Yeah, so
goodness.
So it was the first time that she had really done serious touring with me. I mean, she'd always gone and visited, but we sort of made a commitment to each other that we knew we were going to have a kid. We had to do IVF because of all my previous health stuff, and said, if we're going to do this, like I was like, I want to be there when she takes her first steps, and I want to see every stage of this, and we sort of made this commitment to each other that until she was ready for school, that we would do it together. And they were out for everything. I mean, it was such an adventure, but I wouldn't trade it.
Do you travel with a full band? Is your bus what's travel conditions? Like band and crew kind of thing?
Yeah. Band and crew on the bus. Yeah. So it depends. I mean, I do like touring and doing solo piano stuff. So I have done a fair amount of that. And then, when we were sort of, 2019, when it looked like the lights were going to come on, but then they sort of turned off again, I had already booked the tour. So we went out in the fall, and I went as a 3-piece with a smaller crew, just to sort of like, lower the risk opportunity, and be able to keep the tour on the road. But yeah, this next year I'll be out with, 5-piece band. Most guys that I've played with for as many as 15 years, and the least, I think, like 10. So yeah, a lot of the guys from Jack's Mannequin, Bobby played in something corporate too.
Yeah.
So you had wife and daughter out on tour with you till she was school age?
Yeah, till like she was roughly 4. Yeah.
So what's the change on tour like once that's gone? I mean, I know if my wife takes the kids out of town or something, I come home, there's just this emptiness in the house. But on tour, there's always something going on, some distraction, there's chaos. Is there still that something missing, or is it back to normal? What happened then?
You mean the after without my family on the bus with me? Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah, I think, look, the beauty of having them there was just that we were all on the same page, right? So I think we all know what that's like when you're away from your family.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's hard to share a wavelength because you're just not sharing your day. And so I think that's a big shift, is like, really into just making sure we get enough time and whatnot. The beauty of the crew that I travel in is they are family to me. We've been together for such a long time. They were there when I was raising my daughter. They sort of, and I think all of us are very protective of each other in that sense, right? Like we're not there were days where we'd be out with anybody and everybody. And I think now we're slightly more insulated, and we have our friends in the cities that we go to, and we so it still feels very much like a sort of community family vibe, but it's certainly not as regimented as it would be when it was me and Kelly and Cecilia. There was I would have to wake up by 8 or 9 in the morning,
right?
Just because I'm not going to stick my wife with, the band and crew and having to find food and all that stuff. So there was a more prescriptive level of health, I think, when they were there that
right.
Isn't totally absent, but isn't it doesn't have to necessarily happen that I wake up by 8 in the morning. So
right, yeah.
Sometimes I stay out a little later than I might if
they were there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and communication it's so hard because but it's good that she got to experience the touring, because it's like that because my wife comes out with us for a few days pretty much each tour, and she knows what touring life is like. And so because our lives are Groundhog Day, like it's literally exactly the same. It does not matter what city or what, the shows are, can be different or whatever. But as far as what'd you do today? Well, the guys got up and loaded in, and then we watched Bar Rescue for an hour, and then we sound checked. And then now I'm just getting ready to do the VIP. And then that's exactly what I say every single day. Yeah. And so as you said, it's hard to do that, to communicate. You're doing the thing that you say you're not going to do when you get married, and that's you're living 2 separate lives, because that's what's happening. You can't, there's nothing you do about it. So it's good that she got to be out there for several years and just knows that.
Well, I think too, it was actually really good for our relationship because because what we do is fun, right? And because what we do is, it's entertainment by, it is written into the fabric of our jobs. I think sometimes there is the misconception, not only with, our wives or our family, but with people in general, that it is strictly fun or that it is strictly entertaining. And, I wouldn't trade what I do for anything in the world, but I think when Kelly got on the bus with me, I think it reframed sort of how she perceived my work, and realized holy shit, this is absolutely grueling. I'm fried, and I think there is a little more of an appreciation of the fact that when I get on a plane, it's not like I'm abdicating a life of responsibility and hard work to go party with my friends. It's I'm grinding, for a good chunk of the day, both mentally and physically. And I think we have much more of a common bond now around what I do. And I have a real appreciation for what she does, because, obviously when I'm here at the house, I know the heavy lift, and I try to really, be the proper co-parent when I'm here, so that
Right.
you know what I mean, just so that she knows,
100%,
and so it's it's just, it's life. It's it's beautiful and also very difficult at every turn.
It's definitely not. I mean, it's funny. We talk about this all the time, and it's like when people get so excited you're coming to town, and friends that you've had or whatever, and they're so stoked to see you, and they just can't wait, and they're texting every day, and there's a build up, and then they come backstage, and it's just this dreary land of just people staring at their phones, and there's a crew guy making a sandwich, and everybody's tired, maybe hungover, and it's like, hey guys, we're ready to hang out, and it's just like it just is so disappointing, for them every time, because they come into this world of just like this is the time where we're bored, and then more often than not in Bowling for Soup, then that person gets themselves, it's their one night out of the year, so they're shit-faced by the time we go on stage. And so when we actually do become fun, which is after the show, they have to go home.
You're being put in an Uber because they've got
100
too out of control.
100%. Yeah, but we talk about just how unglamorous our lives are, and traveling by airplane. You mentioned that a few times, like. We were in a van until 2003, and then so 94 to 2003 in a van, and then Girl the Bad Guys Want was a hit, and we did airplanes for 2 years, just doing radio shows, and that was the hardest touring we ever did. Airplanes are the worst because it's just a beating. And I think people think of, oh, you're flying to a different place every day. That is so awesome. And you're like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's funny because I love to fly. Like you just says, it's just like in my kid DNA that like flying is great. But it is so true that when you're flying into show days, like, and I just did it when I went to Australia, I had a day off and then I flew into 3 show days. And there's a physical toll. Like I think about these pilots and these flight attendants, and I am like, because I just feel like going up and down like once a day. Like I feel it in my skin and in my body. And I just feel like I feel the impact on my body and always have. But of course now, like I feel way more than I used to. But yeah, being in the bus, I mean, I think, being on a bus for a tour in the summer, to me, that actually feels about as close to glamour and vacation as anything. Like if it's warm and I can go to bed when I want to and wake up when I want to and get rocked to sleep, I'm like, that is, sign me up. I want to do that tour every summer for the rest of my life, but yeah, when you start doing the trains, planes, and automobiles thing, that's where it gets pretty interesting.
I saw a picture of the Descendants, and Bill Stevenson, the drummer, was pushing this airport cart up to the thing, and there are my idols checking in their 27 pieces of gear, to go on the plane.
Oh, I thought I had my.
Are you wearing a Descendants shirt?
I had a Billy Joel Descendants knockoff T-shirt. I was hoping it was the one that was on. Sorry, go ahead. No, 27 pieces of gear.
Yeah, but it's just like that. To me, is like the most stressful part of it, and then security, the difference in security and how they're not all streamlined. So like it's different in every single city, and they yell different shit at you, and that's stressful. And I have crippling anxiety, and so and I'm medicated for that. But there is something about early mornings at the airport when we are checking in for band shit that like. I am a wreck, and all I want to do is get through that gate, and and so again, that stuff takes so much out of you, and then claiming the bags, and then there's something's missing. We don't have the snare drum. Okay, shit. Well, we're only in this town for one day, and now how do we get that snare drum to catch up? It's just a lot to it, man.
Yeah, it's definitely the most grinding aspect, I think, of what we do, which is, saying a lot about how lucky we are, but it doesn't change the fact that it does suck.
Andrew, what is we're about out of time, but we haven't talked much dad stuff just because you have so much insight into things that we talk about on this show, and thank you for being so open with everything. But what is Cecilia into? Do you feel like she's got the music bug? Is she into art, dance? What's her thing?
Yeah, she definitely leans way creative, right? So she's doing piano and kind of like writing her own little songs on the piano. And she's always drawing or writing. She's super into Harry Potter. So like that's, like the 3 of the last 9 birthdays have been Harry Potter themed birthday parties. So it's
right.
A lot of that. She's a big reader. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of like the sort of left brain stuff, which is super fun for me, obviously, because it's like, oh yeah, cool. Like we want to draw and tell stories and play music, and so it's been it's been nice to sort of forge a bond around that like we have bands that we listen to together, and she started her own vinyl collection and has her own record player and she's just like the greatest, weirdest, most fun kid that you can imagine. She's really careful, which is kind of like wild for me. Like I'm like not a very careful person, and like she's very thoughtful and deliberate about how she sort of moves through the world. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Do you think does she remember much of the younger childhood, spending so much time on the bus? Does she want to go out on summers with you now? Anything like that?
Yeah, she loves being on the road. I don't think that she has like, a full sort of memory of the early days, but every year, they do days on the road with me. So I mean, it's certainly baked into her DNA. I mean, she's such a well-traveled kid that, I don't, I've just had to worry about her on an airplane or in a hotel room or anywhere or any restaurant since she was like 2. She's just easy that way.
Right.
But she loves having her own bunk on the bus, and like it is one of the things she looks forward to most every year is when she gets to get on the road. Like she's all about it. She comes and sings on stage and stuff. It's great.
I'm excited because Gary's kid, his oldest, is just getting to that age where I feel like he's going to start letting him come out every once in a while. And
how old?
My son's 12, and he's wanted to the past couple of years. It just hadn't worked out because he's in baseball camp or this or that. But I think this year something's going to work out probably.
Both of my boys came out. Jack went out on Warped Tour when he was 12, and he basically had that. He had the place on lockdown by day 3. Like day 3, he just walking through the merch tents with a football and just throwing it to various different bands in their merch tent, and they're throwing it back. Jack, what's up? And he's riding Simple Plan's mini bike around, and and so he had a great run. But my youngest is 10. He's been to Europe with me. He's been on the road here. He went out, he was on stage with the Aquabats, with Less Than Jake, singing and doing stuff. I mean, it's crazy, so it's fun. That's one thing that I had really never thought about, how fun and rewarding it would be to be able to have them out there, but I enjoy it.
Yeah. Reframes the whole, just the whole adventure, right? All of a sudden, I think it becomes like a much more, it's a more fulfilling, I think, because you're like, oh, I can do both of these things at once. And there's sort of this like, I think because we've always, I think we're probably the same in the sense you feel like your road life and your home life, like they're kind of 2 different things, And I feel like the closer that those 2 things get to being one, just sort of the more fulfilling all of it becomes, right? Like when it's all integrated, and that's not an easy thing to do, but it's certainly something that I've really tried to do a lot more of, because it does have this payoff of making me feel like I'm living one life rather than sort of two complementary ones.
Yeah, but you're so right, because we haven't talked about this on the show in a while, but and obviously because we didn't tour for 2 years, but re-entry has always been something, and I feel like that whole coming off the road thing, and as you say, back to responsibilities. There's those dads, like I've got friends that, like, we have one friend in particular that when he gets home from tour, his wife sends him to a hotel for 2 days. And then it's just like, so when you come home, now you're done, right? So you just come here and you're not stressed out. You're not, whatever. And then there's guys that are just like, oh no, I come straight home and I just take the baby. And then we've actually had dads on here that say this. Nope. I get home, I go to my bedroom and they leave me alone for 2 days. And it's just like, everybody has their own way of readjusting.
Yeah, then there's the come home and send the wife to the hotel.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
That's a pretty strong play. I definitely am like a come home and dig in right away. I think there's just something about, like, I always feel a level of guilt being away. Like, raising a kid is easily the hardest work.
100%.
And just all the work of just keeping the house together is like, it's super tough, and I know it because when I'm home, I do it. Right. I think, but I rarely have to do it alone, and like my wife's in the middle of doing her master's degree. So she's like, when I'm gone, she's raising our daughter, looking after our house, and finishing a master's. Right. Yeah. And so especially now, since she's gotten back to school, it's been like, I'm just like, you have no, like, you don't have any room for hysterics about how hard it's been while being on the road. It's like, no, it's like everybody's got it tough. Like, if we're both in the house, then we're both doing all of everything associated with it, which is like, and I take a lot of pride in it now. It was, I think I resented it for a hot minute, and now I'm like, dude, I'm all about this. I'm gonna do pick up and drop off if I can today. I'm gonna do, if there's a dish in the sink, I'm gonna make sure it's done. If there's laundry in the, it's like, I like it. I'm into it, man. I'm just waiting for my wife to get her master's so I can just I can put her to work, and I'm gonna just hang out and be a house dad.
Being involved and hands-on and doing all that makes me think my wife has a friend that whenever they go out to dinner, they'll be like, well, who's watching the kids, this or that? And my wife's like, well, the kids are home with dad. And the other mom is like, dad's babysitting. It's like, no, dad's not babysitting. Dad's being a dad.
Yeah, that's just being at home with your dad.
I can't stand it. I can't stand it when dads say that. We're like, I got to babysit this weekend, and it's like we had a friend that worked for us for a while that would say that. Yeah, I got to babysit the kid this weekend, and it just absolutely drives me bonkers to hear that. It's like,
well, it's just a lot of cultural stuff that's been baked in that it goes back hundreds of years. I mean, what's wild is my wife, her master's degree is in American studies, and she's really with an emphasis on motherhood in America. Right. And so like, I get sort of the academic side of like where a lot of these sort of social norms were, how they were cultivated. And I do think that, I don't blame anybody when they say that stuff, because I just think that there's a lot that, is still being unpacked, but
sure.
But I really like, but I agree with you. It's like, dude, we should all be doing all the work, and if you got a free moment and you're at home with your kid, like it's like guys who go and golf all weekend, like, sorry if you guys are golfers, but like, but I know people who are like, these guys work all week, right? Like, and they're grinding, right? And it's like, and they're doing their thing. I get it. But then to like go sit on a golf course all day after you've been at work all week, I'm like, dude, get out of here, man. Go watch your kids.
Yeah, right. Well, I will say we both golf, but we golf about 4 times a year.
Perfect.
And that is literally the only thing I do that isn't work or being a dad. And it's so I give myself a pass. I don't play video games. I don't, I'm not into comic books or television.
I'm half joking.
I know you are.
2 or 3 of those 4 times are during the school day when they're at school. So,
well, yeah, very true. Yeah, but we do make it known if we're drinking that day, so that they know whether or not we're going to be worth a shit that night.
What version of dad you're going to get when he gets home?
Exactly. I think post golf Jaret Dad is pretty good, because I'll just sit and watch whatever the hell he wants with him. Like if it's like, okay, yeah, you want to watch Gravity Falls for 2 hours before bed? Let's do it. Andrew, man, we've kept you a little bit past time. Thank you so very much for being here. We didn't get to talk a lot about dad stuff, so please come back anytime.
Yeah, love to.
Tell people where they can find you on the interwebs and what's coming up.
I should know all this stuff. I'm pretty sure it's just andrewmcmahon.com. And then I'm AMN The Wilderness on Instagram. And then, March 31st, brand new record, Tilt at the Wind No More, comes out. So get a copy of that and get 3 Pianos, my book. Yeah.
And now, hey, are you not on TikTok?
I mean, I kind of am. I'd say about every couple of months I put something up there.
Dude, if you just got on TikTok and did shit on the piano, it would blow up. Like,
yeah, I'm about to I'm sort of getting this camera set up in my studio, and I'm going to do some things to kind of make it a little more fun and turnkey. So you'll see me on there. I had some fun with it when I kind of first got in there recently, and then like everything, I was just like, yeah, but I could just go sit in my room and play the piano instead.
Right. Yeah. But you can do that on there. Well, you just let me know when that happens, and let's do a collab, because it'll be a blast, man. Andrew McMahon, new album coming out. Go get that book. And that's it for the Rockstar Dad Show. We'll see you guys next time. Y'all be good.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know, some rockstar dads who started a show. Until the next episode.